Hello there. It's me, your boy. I just got done editing the podcast and I have news. The video got completely fucked. I don't know what happened. Um, I think I ran out of storage while I was recording the episode, so like the video file was just messed up. I couldn't salvage it, so this episode is going to be audio only. Hope you don't mind. Hope you don't click away because of this. I know it's hard going without seeing my beautiful face, but you must push through. I believe in you. Anyways, if you like the video, do hit that subscribe and that like. Get down and funky with that like button, as they say. Anyways, hope you enjoy the video. Peace out. Hi everybody to the people that are watching this. I don't know if anyone is. It's just us speaking into the void. And since I don't have the means to, actually meet up, I am speaking into this void of a camera. So
we're broke.
yeah. I don't actually know if I'm talking to like a real human being. Like it's just me alone in a room with a monitor. But welcome back, everybody. This here
That's what a degree in philosophy gets you.
Yeah.
All of those stuff.
Yeah, it gets me nothing but not a nice gaming setup with a very cheap Logitech camera. But anyways, please introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Keka. Actually, it's Rebecca, but I prefer being called Keka. I'm 21. I consider myself a Marxist feminist, or a socialist feminist, or a proletarian feminist, whatever you guys prefer calling it. And do I have to say anything? I don't know what else to say. I guess I studied political science and gender and women's studies. But yeah, I guess that's who I am.
I think that about covers it, but pronouns. You gotta put the pronoun. Give us the.
Any pronouns is fine for me. I sometimes feel like a she. I sometimes feel like a him, them, or whatever. Just I don't know. Just like you can ask me in the moment and be like, oh, okay, that's your pronoun. And I'm gonna be like, yeah, like I don't mind.
Yeah, no, I get that exact feeling. It's fine, and I'm gonna get red because it's kind of hot in this room. So.
And you're wearing that thing.
Oh yeah, and I'm wearing this thing because my hair is not looking good. I'm growing it out, so it's in that awkward stage. So I can't be rocking the no hat. Can't do it. Not gonna put myself on YouTube like that.
I wouldn't have minded putting myself eating on YouTube. I think that at the step that I want to be, or like where I want to be in life, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some embarrassing shit on YouTube about me.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way, right? Like, in the age that we live in, like, so you're gonna be like in a class and students gonna real quick just like, oh, TikTok, I've got a TikTok here. Ooh-wee.
They're gonna do the kill John Lennon. The teacher's gonna be like, and they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, my teacher is a Russian spy. Yeah. No, I just know South Park. That's why.
Okay, so let's jump right into it, I guess. So you said Marxist feminist, socialist feminist, yada yada, lots of big fancy words, and I have no idea what any of that means. So what do you mean by that? When you say Marxist feminist, what do you mean by that?
I think it's very complicated to actually like describe what both feminism and Marxist feminism are, but I put it in like a few simple words. It's kind of like, so people know what Marxism is, and Marxism is usually like connected to communism or like socialism and like bad stuff, but I describe my feminism as anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, um, sometimes even anti-man at a certain point, and I'll get to that later as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, pro people of color, pro-black, anti-racist, like all of those little things that people think it's super ridiculous. Like I feel like my feminism has to have it. And the thing that emphasizes a lot in Marxist feminism or proletarian feminism or socialist feminism is that we actually criticize capitalism in the eyes of like a woman or a person with an uterus, because in white liberal feminism or like choice feminism, people use a lot of like the girl boss, like the gatekeep and stuff like that. And it's not empowering at all, but that's what liberal feminism has made it to be, because they're like, oh my gosh, I can choose over my body. Oh my gosh, I can be a CEO. Oh my God, I can be the next president of the United States. But people don't think like at what stake. I
Mm-hmm.
think it has a lot to do with like being in the United States and how they only think within their own little circles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to delete or say that their oppression is not valid, but it's just that the United States, for me at least, by growing up in Mexico, I feel like they live in this little bubble where it's like, oh my gosh, only the United States is oppressed. But once you go to like getting to know Marxist feminism, you see a whole new community where they actually think the global south.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, okay, the global north is actually the one oppressing the global south even more,
Mm-hmm.
even when the global north is looking for like their own liberation in like their small little groups, but it's still doing something else to like the underdeveloped nations, or
Mm-hmm.
like women in underdeveloped nations, queer people in underdeveloped nations. So I guess I kind of moved a little bit away from like what you actually asked, but it kind of like encompasses like everything. I feel like Marxist feminism for me,
Mm-hmm.
at least, is the most complete feminism
Mm-hmm.
out of them all. Because you can ask someone about Chicana feminism or like liberal feminism or anti-colonial feminism or decolonial feminism, post-colonial feminism. Like, yes, it does have some of that stuff, but in my opinion, I feel like Marxist feminism, to one point, it encompasses like every single aspect of like all of these branches of feminism,
Mm-hmm.
at least for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know for
Yeah.
everyone else.
No, no, I didn't want to cut you off, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with this one. Like, to me, it seems like choice feminism, like, it has its uses, but it's not a complete philosophy. Like, for me, the Marxist feminist, or like more of the intersectional feminism, seems to me to be a more complete philosophy, if that makes sense. So, like, if you would consider yourself a feminist, I'm guessing you're not a down with the patriarchy, as they say, right? And if you're just doing choice feminism and you're not talking about capitalism, not trying to critique capitalism, then you're missing out on the patriarchy right there. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're missing a huge reinforcer of the patriarchy. Like you were saying, like if you're gonna be a girl boss, well, you're kind of just taking a man's role in the patriarchal system. Like you're still gonna be oppressing people. Like if you're a girl boss, CEO, congratulations, you're a CEO and you're making a bunch of money. But what about all those women that you're kind of exploiting their labor? And
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, what about them? Yeah,
Yeah, that's why like when people hear me say Marxist feminism, they're like, Marxist?
what do you
And
mean?
actually, something you said kind of popped out to me, how you said intersectional feminism. People are gonna hate me for this when they hear this, but I
Mm-hmm.
really don't believe that intersectional feminism is a thing,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe that even white liberal feminism has intersectionality within it.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single feminism cannot be feminism unless it has intersectionality. Like even white women who are cisgender still fall in the class in the class area of intersectionality. So like their oppression is still there, although they have more privilege than someone who's like a black, lesbian, a working class, female presenting person.
Mm-hmm.
But like you can still look at white feminism and be like, oh, okay, this is a working class woman taking care of her children, being part of social reproduction, and there's still intersectionality. But that's at least how I see it. But maybe like other scholars or like other people who are like really into like theory and stuff like that might be like, oh, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I see it. Like, yes, intersectionality is a huge thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't believe that there's like one feminism that can be called like intersectional
Yeah.
feminism.
So if I'm under, let me know if I'm understanding you correctly. Are you saying like by definition, like all feminism has a little bit of intersectionality? Like by definition, like if there's none of that intersectionality going on, then it's not really feminism, or is that? Am I reading you right?
No,
Or
you're right. Like some people might not know the term of intersectionality.
mm-hmm.
So it includes gender, it includes race, it includes class, it includes sexuality, disabilities, it includes some much that originally feminism didn't look at.
Mm-hmm.
So originally feminism was kind of like just like, oh, women's rights, or like, oh, let women vote, let women have property.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you go ahead and you add gender, class, and like, well, yeah, gender and class. That's where you have two parts of intersectionality. And feminism originally started like mostly with white women, because even back then white women were racist towards people of color, especially black women looking for their liberation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, if you don't have intersectionality in your feminism, even if you don't know that you actually have intersectionality, I don't consider that feminism. Because,
Mm-hmm.
like, it's like with the second wave of feminism, how Chicana women and how black women and how lesbians actually didn't feel welcomed in like the second wave feminism, because they thought that it was a very middle class white woman thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that feminism, like the white women one, where they do not consider intersectionality a thing, I kind of push it away. But when you bring it back and you actually add intersectionality to it, then it's like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is feminism. Like you have to have that even if you consider yourself like a white feminist, or I don't know if people actually do that, but like I guess you know what I kind of mean,
Yeah,
hopefully.
like, yeah. To me, it doesn't make sense. Like, if you're living in the, like, I guess it makes sense in the past, like the times why, like, white women would be more prejudiced or more racist towards black or people of color, like women or women aligned people. But I think nowadays, like, it's very rare. Like, you'll see someone who's considers themselves a feminist and be like, "Oh, but not for black people, or not for white, not for white women." Like,
the
that's very
the thing is
rare.
that it doesn't happen like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't happen like that, but it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like you make a great point right there where you're like, oh, you don't see a feminist saying that. But
But
the thing is that it happens. Like it
mm-hmm.
actually happens
Mm-hmm.
when white women are like, oh my gosh, I'm so oppressed. Like I can't go to Starbucks without having like a $5 card. Or like, oh my gosh. Um, I cannot have this job because I do not have like an Ivy League, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do you know how hard
Mm-hmm.
BIPOC have it?
Yeah.
Like, do you know how hard like one has to prove itself when they're Hispanic or Latino, when they're black, when they're indigenous?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not trying to invalidate like their oppression in any way,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like problems grow more and more in feminism once you bring intersectionality into
Yeah.
it. So it may not happen like, oh, I hate like
Yeah.
Asian
Mm-hmm.
women, blah blah blah, but it's like, oh my gosh, why is that Asian girl having the spot that I wanted?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's where the thing of like women hate women starts.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I was about to
it's
say that like they won't say it explicitly, but like they either leave them out of like the conversation, like
yeah.
out of mind, or very subtly like do stuff like how you mentioned where I don't know, kind of weird, especially like if they're from a different culture and you they try to be like, that's not. I don't like that. Or
We don't do that
yeah,
here.
we
We're in
don't do.
America.
Yeah, we don't do that here. Yeah, that. Yeah, that's an issue.
It is.
Um, I wanted to kind of reel back a little bit. You mentioned second wave feminism. What is that? What are the waves?
So feminism has three waves so far, but I feel like historically we should add like a fourth wave already.
Mm-hmm.
But the first wave of feminism was pretty much around the 1860s and around the 1920s. Um, my history in feminism is really bad. I'm really bad at history, not gonna lie.
Me too, bro.
But I think the first meeting that we ever had that had to do anything to do with feminism was the meeting in Seneca Falls, where actually, I'm too bad at history, but I remember this from my gender women studies class. Um, so it was this reunion where black people actually went to, black women, a black liberated man, like a free black man went,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of white women, and they discussed like their rights in like the United States and how they were going to try and look for the liberation. um, but first wave feminism was more about like women getting the right to vote and women getting like the right to property and women getting the right of being someone without having to have a husband or having to be married. But that one is like the racist wave of feminism, if you want to call it like that. And then we come to the second wave of feminism, which kind of sparked with Feministik by Betty Friedan. She wrote this book, but it was mostly about a middle class white woman and like how they were being trapped at home and like having children, blah blah blah. Which could have been a really good critique on like social reproduction and like women against capitalism. But I mean, I guess they were a little bit too comfortable in that, or they were like, oh, okay, but I want to be someone within capitalism, which I don't think people actually thought about critically back then, especially if you weren't like a scholar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the second wave of feminism was really big because that's when women finally had the right to vote, but also women didn't have the right to choose over their bodies. So you have Roe v. Wade during that time, um, birth control being tried and birth control having like trials as well, and like I think Gloria Steinem, which was one of the big icons of like the second wave feminism, spoke about that a lot. Um, we also have Angela Davis with Black Feminists and the Black Panther Party. We have Audre Lorde, who's another Black writer who was she's one of my favorite feminist writers, especially with the master's house can never dismantle the well, you can well the master's tools can never dismantle the master's house. Um, and the second wave of feminism was kind of like the wave that pushed it all to be a little bit more modernized, more, oh, women can have jobs that men have, or like women entering into capitalism, like actually entering into capitalism and actually being able to have like their own jobs, like their own houses, like being a woman without having to have a man beside you,
Mm-hmm.
which was something that was happening like in the 1950s, 1960s, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is that a lot of people didn't feel like that feminism that was very mainstream. You can also call it mainstream feminism too, like the white feminism, um, didn't appeal to them or didn't appeal to their characteristics or their struggles.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you got black feminism or like queer feminism or Hispanic Chicana feminism. Like all of these little groups started popping up because the feminism that was being mainstreamed did not fit them. So they were like, this is not who I am. I do not fit into any of these little squares that they're putting here. like, where do I fit? Where am I? Who represents me? So then they went ahead and did their own little groups and searching for their own little liberation within the mainstream feminism that everyone was talking about. So that's the second wave feminism. And then we come to the third wave feminism, which I'm also not super familiar with because they don't teach you a lot about the third wave feminism, but it's more like social justice warriors because I don't see them as a bad thing, but a lot of people do because they over exaggerate it.
Yeah.
Um, but we gotta thank them for some things, just like we gotta thank liberal feminism for like actually giving us a chance.
Mhm.
Um, and it's more like about little groups like transgender feminism. Trans feminism actually became a thing. It wasn't such a big thing during the second wave feminism, but it kind of popped up more with their trans manifesto in the 2001, 2002. I wrote about it a while ago, but I don't remember the author. But I think she's a Hawaiian or Asian trans woman who
Mhm.
wrote the manifesto. And she actually spoke a lot about how some cisgender women actually thought that they had more privilege because they had identified as a man before, or they had been like in a male's body before. But she did say that it was like, okay, yes, we did have some kind of privilege and we did not deny it, but now we are women. We have always been women and we will always be women. We were just, I don't remember exactly what she was saying, but she was, because it's this thing where a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you were a man before. It's like, no, I was never a man. But that's another thing. So little groups also started popping up, and like even like punk rock feminism. So the third wave of feminism is more modern, and that's where like intersectional feminism also came in, I think. But yeah, don't trust me on like feminist history. It's more like about feminist theory for me.
Yeah, no, no problem. I'm not a history buff myself either. Like,
Yeah,
I
okay,
can't
fine.
remember any history date, and I know that's not like the point of history, but like I have an awful memory. I'm not remembering anyone's date or any important names. But so really quickly to summarize, if I understood you correctly, so first wave feminism mostly about like women's suffrage, like getting the right to vote. And then
Yeah.
second wave feminism is when you had the feminists who felt excluded from first wave feminism or didn't feel like their views were being expressed. Kind of
Kind of,
they
kind of.
yeah, kind of started forming together. And then third wave feminism was when you had more of the intersectionality developing and kind of the development of the internet and how like
Yeah.
people reacted to that because third wave feminism to me like I try to like rationalize like the historical dates with like things that were going on like big things so like for my understanding like when we got to second wave feminism I think that's about like the time where Marx's writings were probably getting translated like widely translated so that's probably like you have Angela Davis, who's takes
Yeah.
huge inspirations from Marx, and they started, taking more inspiration from like academics other than in the first wave where it was just we want to be able to vote. Kind of
Yeah, I
summarized it
think
right.
yeah, I think second wave feminism did emphasize a lot of like academia.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think before that feminism had been looked at as like a theory.
Yeah.
And I think also with Judith Butler, um, gender was actually being looked at.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very hard to explain everything about feminism because it has like a lot.
Oh yeah.
But like second wave feminism actually allowed for people to look at women or like at people who have fallen into like the category of being a woman or or has an uterus or are female presenting like trans women, but well, not all trans women are female presenting, some of them prefer looking other ways. But what I mean is more like it finally gave a chance for others to look at like gender as something so different.
Uh-huh.
Um, because we had the binary, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're either a woman or a man," or like, and no one thought that anyone could be in between. Like, people shamed um indigenous people for calling themselves like two-spirit, or like people shamed like um Pacific Islanders for like having their own genders or like having their own third gender. Like people have shamed indigenous people for like being so fluid in their own like persona, that I think second wave feminism gave the chance for like those little things to be brought back and tell them like, hey, actually being queer has not been something new. It's not something new. It's something so old, but you guys suppressed it because of like misogyny and like gender binary and just you wanting to bring the church into everything and how God views everything. Because as much as believers say that it does not have anything to do with that, it has a lot to do with Christianism and like colonizing. So pretty much religion kind of ruined, um, well, not religion, more like Western religion kind of ruined people's perspectives of like everything that was before.
Yeah.
And now everyone thinks that pre-Hispanic history is like what counts, or like pre-British history is what counts. It's like there was history before that. You believe in evolution. Why not believe that indigenous people were two-spirited? Why not believe that Pacific Islanders have a third gender? Like, it's just, it's
Yeah.
tiring.
Yeah. Like they were in their Western view told from probably like the Bible or other, you know, sources that God made man and woman. That's it. That's what you're working with, buddies. So
Jesus Christ,
yeah,
that's
they,
very.
yeah. And then second wave feminism, people got a little more educated. Women were getting more educated, and people were, I guess, like sources from other parts of the world were becoming more available. So they were like, hey, these people have three genders, or hey, there's such thing as intersex people. What is that? Because
Oh, it's hard.
oh yeah,
It's hard to even explain that. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about what you said. I think something that we have to emphasize too throughout second wave feminism is that that was the era of experimenting. So people got drugged every single day, like at the park, at school, anywhere. They were
oh yeah,
experimenting because they saw like some kind of liberation with everything that was happening. You had, it was the era of revolution. Like you could finally see that revolution was happening
hmm
with the Black Panther Party, with like Chicana feminism being up there in the Chicano movement. Like there was so much revolution, and it just died down.
yeah,
It just died down because I feel like people got so comfortable with like the decisions that they were getting with it from the government, kind of like how people like women were finally recognized as being part of the government, or like women were finally had a chance to like be part of the mainstream world. Like
hmm
I feel like people got too comfortable that they just forgot about the revolution.
hmm
And it was just like, I mean, I am not saying that the revolution is going to happen anytime soon. I really don't think that's going to happen. We really need to educate more people on that. But
yeah,
they were so close back then, and it was just like death. Like it just like died.
yeah,
For what? But yeah, that's something that I want to emphasize because we were so close yet so far.
yeah. Like back then, even like as as far as my understanding of the U.S. politics around that time, um, it was pretty as close to socialism as I think the U.S. is ever gonna get, because you had
The Cold War.
yeah, you
We
had
were
the
literally in the
yeah,
middle of the Cold War. Yeah.
yeah, like, I mean, even before that, we were there was, or maybe I'm getting my history wrong. Maybe this was first wave. I yeah, I'm
I mean,
definitely getting. Who was the guy that was like pushing out all like the social safety net? Which one was that president? I can't remember. He was.
I do not. I'm Mexican. I really do not know any precedents. Like, you can ask me about Mexico, and I'll tell you something. But I feel like the thing with socialism started, in Eastern Europe, in Russia. So that was during the first wave of feminism around 1917 when
Mhm.
the Tsar was thrown out, overthrown. And then it kind of grew and grew, and it was like the 60s, and that's when, like, sorry, the Cold War started. Um, but like, communism has been like a thing for like a huge while, like since the 1800s, like the
Oh yeah.
19th century. Um, so you could see it like in China around 1940s, Vietnam in the 1950s, North Korea in the 1950s too. Well, DPRK, not North Korea. That's very Western of me. Um, so it was there. So the sentiment of anti-communism and like anti-socialism has always been there because communism became such a big thing that everyone was just like, okay, I like this. This is actually gonna bring me my liberation. And then the United States was like, hold up,
Yeah. Hold up.
we don't like that. No, push it away, push it away.
Hmm.
And that's how the Cold War started. Like, you guys fought against the Nazis together, and then you're like, we actually hate each other. We don't like each other. So it's like, it doesn't make sense for me, at least.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No. I think what I was talking about was I think it was like Great Depression era. I forget who was the president, but around that time they started putting all like the little social benefits that we have now, like what's it
so do you
called?
mean Franklin D. Roosevelt? Like Roosevelt?
I think I'm talking about Roosevelt. I think that was like as close to social, and it wasn't even close to anything, but that's probably as
It
close
was
as.
it was Keynesian economics.
Yeah.
That was like the closest thing. Even that guy, from the Keynesian economics, he was like, this is actually not communism or socialism. And it's like,
But yeah,
it
everyone was.
smells like it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, everyone was telling him like, "You're a socialist. You're a socialist." Everyone, all the people were so scared. He was just like, "Guys, I gave you guys what was like retirement money. You can retire now." And they were like, "That that's
Communism.
communism. That's
But
communism."
but hey, now people have 401k, and they're like, yay, that's communism.
Woo!
Everything has its origins in communism.
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to also talk about a little bit, because you mentioned it, the trans feminism rising, which that one is interesting to me because that's developing in like right now. Like we can see them fighting for their rights right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that everyone else isn't fighting.
Isn't, yeah.
Yeah, but the main focus from the conservative parties right now seems to be to stop it before it's grown up, because there's a lot of feminists, trans exclusionary feminists or TERFs, that don't they don't like them. J.K. Rowling's on Twitter like beefing with every trans account that will reply to her. Yeah, it's not good.
I was talking about that with another feminist friend who actually considers herself a radical feminist, but she does not identify herself with like the trans exclusionary part. And she told me I kind of understand where they come from. And I guess you could understand where they come from somehow, but it's still very, it's like you go back to giving women the the meaning or like the significance that they had before feminism with essentialism, which is what they preach a lot, bioessentialism. Like they're like you have to have a uterus in order to be a woman.
Hmm. But
You
then that,
have
yeah.
to, yeah, you have to be someone who has the reproductive power to create children in order to be a woman.
Uh huh.
Like trans exclusionary radical feminists just completely erase the history of what we fought for just to like go ahead and tell you, hey, trans woman, you do not have a uterus. You cannot say anything about women. You do not have the same oppression we have.
Hmm.
We do not have the same oppression, sure. We are oppressed in different ways, yes. But that doesn't give you the power to take away who is a woman and who is not a woman.
Yeah. Not only
Like,
that. Oh,
yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go
But
ahead, go ahead.
yeah, but so not only do you have problems if you try to say, oh, it's only if you have a uterus, then you're a woman. You run into, okay, I'm intersex. I appear very women like. I look exactly like a woman. I got everything, but I don't. I'm missing a uterus. I don't have a uterus.
I
So
don't
do.
think people think about that. I
Yeah.
don't think people think about intersex people a lot.
Nope.
And this is why that community feels so excluded when we
Yeah.
speak about gender and sex, because
Mhm.
people don't think about that. Because it's something that's rarely talking about. Like,
Mhm.
it's something that no one ever speaks about. Philip. It's something that people tend to forget just because it's something that it happens like what, one in a thousand, two in
It,
a
it's
thousand. I don't
actually
know.
it's actually a little more common than most people think. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, a lot of intersex people, they don't actually like know that they're intersex because you have to do rigorous testings to figure it out. So like you can go your whole life and not even realize that you are intersex. Like there's this story about this South American runner,
Mm-hmm.
and she was doing so well um, in her sprints
Mm-hmm.
that people were questioning whether she was a woman or not because she was doing so well. So they forced her to do like sex tests and like stuff like that.
That's
And
weird. That's just creepy.
yeah, and then they figured out she was intersex. She had no idea. That's how she figured it out.
I think Judith Butler actually speaks about it in Doing Gender.
Mhm.
I read this when I was taking contemporary political theory, and it was this story about a boy named David. Not remember very true. I don't know if it was actually a girl named something else or a boy named David, but this boy slash girl slash person, this little child, I think it was he was born with like a really small penis or like born with like an extremely big like vulva
Mhm.
that they changed their gender to like the other one. And they made that child grow up believing that he was that sex. And then when it turns out that they didn't feel comfortable with like what they were grown into, what they were indoctrinated to be, they were like, okay, then what am I? Like, and I think I think it's actually a boy named David. I think it's actually a boy named David. Um, and it's like, it's little children that they turn into something else just because they do not fit into the norm of like being a girl or a boy.
Mhm.
And it's just exasperating or like so upsetting because people preach a lot about like, oh my gosh, you're making your baby confused by letting them be like a boy instead of a girl or a girl instead of a boy, and it's like, how do you think that intersex child feels when they realize that they don't know what they actually are?
Mhm.
Like doctors tell you like, oh, you're actually a girl because you have like a huge like vulva. No, no, you're actually a boy because you have like a huge vulva, blah blah blah, or like you're a girl because you cannot see your penis. Like why do you sexualize babies? Why do you try to sexualize babies just because of a biological abnormality? Like it's just genetics. Like it's not their fault that they don't know what they actually are. Like
Yeah.
it's you confusing them. Like
Yeah, no, you have a lot of problems when you try to say that, oh, gender is whatever's in your pants or whatever genitalia you have. It never
that's so
works.
stupid.
Yeah.
That's so stupid. I
Hmm.
hate that. I
Yeah.
hate that so much.
And yeah, and again, one of my big problems with the turfs is it seems that their philosophy is just eugenics disguised as feminism. Because if it's you have to have a uterus, what about if you're an actual woman who's
What about
born
women who
without.
do not have a uterus?
Yeah, that's what I like. You're born without a functioning uterus. You can reproduce. Is all of a
Like,
sudden any struggle that you face invalidated? Like I'm sure, like if you have a uterus that can't reproduce, I'm sure you still have to deal with issues that women have to deal with. I'm sure you get creepy guys all the time. Like
what if they have a uterus but they're actually infertile?
yeah,
Like,
it leads
like
to so many
how are you
problems.
gonna make that woman feel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that's why I do not agree with what radical feminists have to say most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think Latin American radical feminists at a certain point where they have made my country, Mexico, a better place for women.
Mm-hmm.
Like passing all those laws and like
For cis women.
decriminalizing abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Like it might be at a surface level. I see it as surface level solutions myself. Like it's not gonna end our oppression and it's not gonna lead us to like our emancipation, but it's gonna eventually make our life a little bit better. It's gonna make our life a little bit more flexible, a little bit more, I don't know, secure at a certain point. But
Mm-hmm.
of course, laws can only do so much for women like us, and in the most progressive country of all, the United States, those laws are being taken away. So like,
Yes.
what's the point?
Yeah,
I
and
don't know.
they're starting with trans women and women, and they're just gonna keep rolling it back. You're gonna get that regression, which is why I find the focus right now to be on like trans issues to be very interesting, because again, there's one side of feminism that's also going against the trans movement. So I find that interesting.
I
Cause
do not see radical feminism as something that happens in the United States a lot, though.
yeah.
It's something more about Latin America, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Radical feminism is more of a Latin American thing, from what I've
Mm-hmm.
seen, from what I've experienced, because I don't think people in the United States actually have any labels for feminism, unless you're like a person of color or like a black person. Like, then you're like, I'm actually a black feminist, or like, I'm actually
Yeah.
a decolonial feminist. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but like other feminists are, like I said, they call themselves like intersectional feminists. And like I said, I don't believe that that's an actual thing, but go off, queen, be an
Yeah.
intersectional feminist. Or
Yeah. Like all the, I guess, uninitiated or untheory readers, like they just it's feminism. Like
it's it's
that's it.
just feminism. It's like it won't be feminism unless you have intersectionality in it. Like I said before, it's just so dumb to believe that even white feminism does not have intersectionality within it when it actually does. There's white women with disabilities. There's white women that are working class white women. Like, it's just, it's there. There might not be something about the race that is actually oppressed, but their oppression still there.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Um, so I think we've covered everything about like first wave, second wave feminism that I wanted to cover. So it's time to get into like the more kind of hard philosophical stuff. I think you know,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not a
So,
philosophy major.
yeah. No, no, you're fine, but you should be able to answer it, I think. Um, it's very hard though, because I myself don't have the answer for this one, but
Which one is it?
it's like, can guys call themselves feminists? It's
Oh!
that one. It's that age old question. It's very very hard to answer, I think.
Can men be feminists?
Can men be feminists? Because that's a hard one. I can
It's a
go.
really hard
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
but you
I
can what?
I can go first if you want me
I
to.
mean, I'm gonna go into loopholes and loopholes of it, so I think I better start for a moment.
Okay.
No, they can.
Mhm.
Not yet. Not yet.
Mhm.
At one point, maybe, yes, they could be feminists, but the thing is that for them to be feminists, it has to start with us women or us trans women, us, the sisterhood should exist before.
Mhm.
Right now, for me, there is no sisterhood.
Mhm.
It's not women support women, it's women protect women. There's no actual sisterhood in feminism because, like I said before, women hate women. And people believe that because Kamala Harris is vice president. Progress!
Yeah.
We have made so much progress, right? No.
Feminism is solved. Like we don't need feminism anymore.
We
We
don't
have
need feminism
yeah,
anymore. We have
we have
Kamala Harris.
Harris. Yeah, we have Harris. We're good
The
guys.
the thing is that I told this one person one time in my gender theory class, women can also hate women, so I don't know why you think you need more women in political positions
Yeah.
than what they have right now.
Yeah.
Even
Margaret.
AOC hasn't done shit, bro. Like what's the point of having women in those kind of positions when they're actually gonna do us even more?
Yeah.
So like it starts there. It starts with people like me who are female presenting believing that because we're part of society in a certain way, it makes us better and it makes us more progressive and it makes us more, we're getting to our liberation. It's not. So first of all, we have to have some kind of sisterhood and some kind of like collectivity, some kind of like collective feminism where we can like actually rely on each other and actually look for our liberation without having to look at like every single flaw that we have.
Mhm.
Um, and then after that, we have to, this is like, for me, this is the first step of like liberation, sisterhood. So first of all, accomplish sisterhood. Then with that, it includes even us unlearning our misogynistic ways. Because women are misogynistic as well.
Mhm.
Just because you're a woman does not accept you from like being a misogynist. So that has to do with that. So first, accomplish sisterhood and decolonize ourselves from like misogyny.
Mhm.
And then second, we have to educate men on feminism and our struggles and make them understand like, hey, you are a victim of feminism. Oh, like feminism. You're a victim of feminism. You're a victim of the patriarchy as well.
Yeah.
You're actually a victim of the patriarchy, but you don't see it that way because patriarchy has made you think that, oh, I'm the big guy. I'm the one who's sexually dominating. Blah blah blah. No,
I'm
baby,
supposed to do
no.
all those things. That's what a man
No.
is. Yeah.
You're a victim. You've been made this way, this person who does not show feelings, who cannot show any vulnerability, who has to be a man
Mhm.
because of patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to educate men and let them know, hey, you're a victim of patriarchy too, in order for them to like start unlearning their misogynistic ways and actually getting to like equity. Like when people say they want equality, but it's not that, it's equity. I believe that it's equity, not
Yeah.
equality. So we have to get to that point where we actually see each other eye to eye and be like, okay, so we've both been oppressed, but you were the oppressor most of the time. So understand that, unlearn your ways,
Mm-hmm.
and then we could probably go ahead and say, okay, maybe now you're a feminist.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe that men can be called feminists right now. Not even allies are 100% safe from being called misogynists.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I tell allies or feminists is that if you enable your other male friends or your other female friends to make jokes about rape, to make jokes about femicides, to make jokes about trans women being killed in the streets, if you make jokes about prostitutes, about sex workers, about anything that enables violence onto us, you cannot be called a feminist. You
Yeah.
can't. You just you just cannot enable violence towards us and then turn your back and be like, "Oh, girl, I'm a feminist too."
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work that way. Like we're working towards our emancipation, towards us not being killed in the streets just because we're out,
Mm-hmm.
to trans women actually be alive. Like, what's the point in calling yourself a feminist if you're gonna go ahead and then be like, oh, I fucked Jenny last night. It was so fucking good. Do you guys want to see the video we made?
Yeah. Like, oh, bro, here's my girlfriend's nudes. Why do guys
Exactly.
do that?
Exactly. Like, it might not happen to everyone, but that is what misogynist people look like. Like, you
Oh
do
yeah.
that.
Oh
And
yeah.
for me, men cannot be called feminists at this moment just because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be an ally, but even then, you can still be misogynistic. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
No, I think I'm gonna have to agree with you on this one. Like, I take the same position, and my argument is basically the same. Like, as long as you have men like me benefiting from the patriarchy, can't really say I'm a feminist yet. But when it comes to allyship, then yeah, I think if you're doing your job
yeah,
deprogramming, then okay. I think being an ally is fair. Calling yourself an ally,
yeah.
fair.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I.
But there are a lot of bad allies. There's a lot of them. Like, there's a lot of guys who have taken up the performance of feminism.
Guys use
Oh,
feminism to get laid.
oh yeah.
Guys actually use
Oh
feminism to
yeah.
get laid. And I
All the
have
time.
never fallen for it. I've never fallen for it. I've been with men like that. They're like, "Oh, you're a feminist? Oh, tell me more about it. Which branch of feminism do you like?" And I'm like, that sounds so fake. That sounds fake.
Yeah.
Like it's such a serious term that I get easily offended when people try to joke about feminism in any way.
Mm.
Like I was with some friends having dinner like 2 months ago, and the friend of my friend made a joke about it, and I was like I instantly just shot out, and I was like, yeah, I know you're making a joke, but I really take that seriously.
Yeah.
And it's like you cannot even call yourself an ally if you're just so willingly to joke about feminism in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's the point of using feminism's name in vain when you make a joke like that? Like, do you actually know how much more harm you do by doing that kind of comments
Yeah.
than actually like making people laugh? Like, yeah, maybe other people don't take it as serious as me, but there are other people. I am me. And if you get offended by me telling you like, hey, Joe, It's not cool joking about that. I don't want to be your friend. If you don't want to be my friend because I'm a feminist, I really don't give a shit. I
Yeah.
got a whole bunch of girls and trans women and they thems and
Yeah.
non-binary people behind my back.
Yeah, you got the
Like,
she's, the theys, and the gays.
oh, don't even get me started on gay white people. That's another thing that I have to say. Just because you're gay and you show your femininity does not take away your misogynistic ways.
Oh yeah.
It does not. I love my gay friends a lot,
Hmm.
but just because your femininity shows and you're so proud of it does
Hmm.
not mean that it excludes you from being misogynistic.
Yeah, you can be
Like, yeah,
you can be like a super masculine gay person. Like just because you're gay doesn't mean you have to be feminine or anything. You can be very gay and very misogynistic.
the thing is that my experience with gay men has always been them trying to be like, how can I say it without sounding like homophobic or like sounding like I'm a bad person. It's just been really like they try to be like they try to joke about it, like being fat phobic and like being very misogynistic even at times, and it's kind of like it's not funny.
Hmm.
It's not for me to laugh. Just because you're very feminine as a gay person does not take away the fact that you're still a man.
Yeah, and that
And
you
you,
benefit from.
yeah, you still benefit from the patriarchy even if you're gay.
Hmm.
Like, people still, you still have a certain advantage because you're a cisgender, well, not white, but like a cisgender male.
Yeah,
Like, you still,
you're.
yeah.
Hmm.
Like, it's just like it's just such a huge thing to speak about because gay men might be like, oh no, I'm actually not misogynistic, blah blah blah. Part of the girls. No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. And like a lot of the jokes, are they really jokes though? Like it's just misogyny and transphobia disguised as a joke. Like, uh, oh, I hooked up with this stripper, bro. Like this girl was up all up on me. Like, is that a joke? Like, if you're talking about stuff like that, or the way that you talk about women in your joke, like,
And we all have mothers.
yeah.
We may hate our mothers, some of us, but we all have mothers. We
Uh-huh.
all came out of a vagina.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. How can you hate
It's,
someone who has a vagina so much when a vagina brought you to the
yeah.
world? And don't come here to me telling me I was actually a cesarean baby, a C-section baby. Stop. Your mother carried you for 9 fucking months. Even if you're adopted, even if your mom abandoned you at your fucking birth,
Mm-hmm.
a woman still carried you.
Yeah.
Someone with an uterus still carried you. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter who they are now or who they were.
Mm-hmm.
They still fucking carry you for 9 months. They brought you to this earth 9 months later.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So,
even if you had the most shittiest mom ever, it still doesn't
yeah,
justify being misogynistic.
misogynistic.
Yeah, like all those incel type people, like they have mommy issues. That's all it is. I think it's all
I
just
have mommy issues,
yeah.
man.
I think it's all just mom issues. They should have had like that. I don't know what celebrity did that. She recorded that video for Putin. Like, I wish I could have been your mother. You know, have you seen that video? No,
I don't think I
dude. I'm
have.
showing you that video after this podcast is over. It's the funniest shit ever. I love celebrities who are not in touch with reality whatsoever. It's
Oh,
my
like the
favorite thing.
Kardashians?
Like the
Like how they said,
Kardashians.
Nobody wants to fucking work now.
Nobody
Get
wants.
your ass up and work.
Bruh. Yeah. Yeah, stuff like that. I, I eat that shit up. I love it. It's so funny to me.
I love reality TV show too. It's
Yeah.
just so funny how people don't actually live in reality
Yeah.
anymore.
Just goofing on them. Like what they're saying, not that funny. But the way people make fun of them, now that's funny.
NPCs, man, they're all NPCs.
Yeah. For real. It's like that Imagine video when COVID first happened, all the celebrities singing Imagine.
Oh yeah,
Oh
no.
yeah.
Oh, that's so terrible. It was like, what's the point of it? Like, I'm not gonna fucking watch that shit. It's like 3 minutes of my fucking time lost.
Mhm.
Who's gonna pay for those fucking 3 minutes?
Mhm.
Oh what?
Well, I'm about to waste your 3 minutes with after I end this podcast and I show you that video. Yeah, your minutes are gonna be wasted, but you're gonna have fun making fun of her. So I think I'm ready to wrap it up. I had a good time. I hope you did too. I think
I
we've gone
did.
on for we went on for a minute, and
We just didn't talk about the hookup culture. That could
oh
be for another
no
podcast
no, let's
though.
talk about that. That's interesting. I wanted to talk about that. I can't believe I forgot. I'm just my brain is melting. I look awful. Like my room lighting is the worst. It's just like orange.
It's okay. I look red and white, and this is not my skin color at all.
Yeah, they're whitewashing you.
I know. My own light is whitewashing me.
You can never escape. You can't escape this Eurocentric beauty standard.
I have a very Eurocentric nose, so it's okay. Um, I don't know, man. A lot of people hate me for like the hookup culture thing and how I related to like human trafficking and sex trafficking
Yeah,
and stuff
I
like
feel like
that.
to toss a bone. I feel like it's only like the young people. Like I feel like after you get done with like your like hookup age or whatever, I think most people tend to be like, that wasn't that good. I feel like
Look,
literally like I'm 100% sure most women after that era are like, I regret all of that. That was not good. Like you never want to.
I don't regret it. I mean, a little bit. But the thing is that hookup culture leaves you empty. Like it doesn't, like at least for me, it didn't fulfill anything but that part of me where I was depressed. And I hope my parents are not listening to this. And I literally like had sex with whoever wanted to, like whoever was like down for that. Like
Yeah.
it gets to a point where it doesn't fulfill you and it doesn't make you feel comfortable with yourself. Or at least that was me. I'm gonna accept that I did gain some confidence from hookup culture. Like my confidence came from like male validation though.
Mm-hmm.
Like guys were like, "Oh my gosh, you're so good at sucking dick," or like, "Oh my gosh, you're so good at sex." But like, what is there after that?
Yeah. I
Like,
was.
who's telling me you're so smart, or like, who's telling me like, "Oh my gosh, I wish to learn more about you." Like, these people don't look at you as if you were a person. These people look at you as if you were an object. And feminists who support the hookup culture do not look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. That's like,
Yeah.
I do not judge you for being part of the hookup culture.
Yeah.
You
Obviously
do
not.
you.
Yeah.
But don't come and tell me that, "Oh my gosh, you're insulting the hookup culture and you're telling women not to be free and you're telling women what to do with their sexuality." I'm not. I'm just letting you know that you're sharing your energy, your divine, beautiful, feminine energy, masculine energy, whatever your energy is, with someone who's not going to appreciate it. With someone who's not going to be there at the end of the day where you tell them, like, "Hey, I'm pregnant," or like, "Hey, I really enjoyed it being with you." Like some women get so emotionally attached and some men get so emotionally attached. But hookup culture is just gonna leave you empty at the end of the day because it does not fulfill that emotional part that some people look for in hookup culture. Because that's accepted. Hookup culture just comes from people telling you that having rampant sex with everyone is just so cool and like everything and blah 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 and it, it, it's choice feminism.
Yeah.
It's completely choice feminism, but
Yeah, I would, may I be so bold as to say that it's not even like that's just it's patriarchy in disguise, bro.
it
Like
is.
they
How does
got
it benefit women?
yeah.
How?
I was about to say like you're an empath. Like you were talking about how like it leaves the women feeling empty and all that. And for me, I approach it as just like I'm just like, dude, it's not safe for women. Like you hear all the horror stories on Tinder where they get a match. Like one, it's super dangerous. You're probably not gonna benefit from it. The people you're getting on Tinder, they're they don't know what a woman's like. Like they've never been with a woman in their life. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna you're gonna go over there and you're not even gonna have that much of a good time. It's dangerous for you. What if the guy like what if you actually just want like the one time thing and then the guy's like I'm head over heels for you
Stalking.
like yeah,
Stalking.
like you're mine now. Like
Mm-hmm.
we were
Like
together.
the you thing, like he's like watching them and like that's it's I don't think some feminists look at it that way because they emphasize choice feminism way too much to the point where they're like, I have the freedom to do whatever I want with my body, blah blah blah.
And you
Yes,
do,
you
but
do.
also
You can get killed on a fucking Tinder date. Look at how many stories have popped up just in the past few months about women getting killed by Tinder dates,
mhm,
Bumble dates. I
all
was
the
I was
sexual violence that occurs.
I was raped on a Tinder date.
Mm-hmm.
Like that I am one I am part of the 97 or 93% of women who have been sexually assaulted or who have been raped. And it's like hookup culture can be seen as something so beautiful when people tell you about it, people who have had really good experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But when you actually meet people who are part of that percentage, they're like, yeah. Some of
Yeah.
them are like, I got sexually assaulted, or like, I almost died on a Tinder date, blah, blah, blah. Like, and it's the same with the sex industry with women. I've met feminists here in the Valley being like, oh my gosh, why are you so judgmental of like OnlyFans girls, blah blah blah. And it's like, I'm not judgmental of them. It's not them who I judge. It's people who buy their stuff that I judge. It's people who support the sex industry that I judge. It's people who still watch porn that I judge. Like every single thing that you do in regards to the sex industry, even the hookup culture, it just benefits the patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And people are so thankful for like female porn directors, and it's like it's still for the benefit of the patriarchy, girl.
Yeah.
Just
Like
because just because you're a woman directing porn doesn't mean that this woman will not commit any sort of violence towards you
mm-hmm.
just because they're a woman.
Yeah.
It's like when people say, oh my gosh, only a female gynecologist. What if a woman or a person with an uterus does not feel comfortable with a female gynecologist? Like, you emphasize so much women into the conversation just like men.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this stake where women cannot be sexually violent towards you because they're women. Well, like I said before, women hate women. Women can actually hurt women
Oh
too.
yeah.
Like, just because you fall into a certain standard or a certain like window where you're like, I'm a woman, does not exclude you from being someone who can harm a person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I was about to add on to that. Like, and this is why um, I think ultimately the porn industry is super bad is because so let's say like
And I
you
think it's not just the porn industry, it's the sex industry in general.
yeah
So
like
yeah.
so for me it's obvious like big companies like Pornhub or stuff like that bad. That's an easy debate, but it gets a little harder when you have like OnlyFans girls. Like, sure, they own what they're producing. Like, they're producing everything on their own. But here's the issue: they're still being exploited because you're doing that so you can eat, or you're doing that for money.
Capitalism.
Yeah, that's why with Marxist feminism, it gets interesting because if you're able to get rid of capitalism and you
It's no
still want
longer work.
yeah
It's
it's
no longer
yeah
work.
it's no longer work, so you're not being exploited. So then it brings up a philosophical question: would people still do that? I don't know, like
That
would
is
people
such a question that we were talking about it with the DSA group that I am in,
mm-hmm.
and we were debating about it, and some people were like, "Oh, it would still be sex work under communism, blah blah blah," and it's like, I would think it's just sex. I don't think there would be any kind of exploitation towards women who want to enjoy sex.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's a really hard question to answer.
Yeah,
Like,
like for me the question is would it still exist? Like would women still have OnlyFans? I
I,
don't know.
I don't. The thing is that that is such a capitalist thing. It's just such a capitalist thing that I personally don't think it would exist when capitalism is abolished. But at the same time, it's kind of like, I don't know. It would come into like a more of like a moral question in the end, like morality within oneself, because even when capitalism is abolished or even when capitalism does not exist anymore, there's still like the thought of a person and how that person thinks of like women or like people in general
Mm-hmm.
and how much one sexualizes the others. So like I feel like it's a very philosophical question. Like it would go on and on and on into like other stuff,
Yeah,
like not just
because
capitalism.
yeah,
So
because if let's say that it is like we've abolished capitalism, we did it, hurrah, the great enemy is defeated, and then there's still people making like OnlyFans content, but it's well, you don't have to worry about your basic needs because your basic needs are being met. If we've achieved the right kind of communism, then your basic needs are met already. So I don't know. I don't know if people would be doing OnlyFans. I think people would pursue other aspects like
I feel like it would just be sex. I feel like it would just be people posting their stuff online, like, but at the same time, it's like I said before, it just goes into a question of morality
yeah.
and how one views the other and how society views what you do. It's just,
Yeah.
I would
Like
go into a loophole so big that I even couldn't answer it.
yeah,
So,
like it's a hard question because I'm sure that there's a few people because I'm pretty sure there's probably like free OnlyFans pages or people who will just like upload like oh sex tape, boom, just upload it. But I
I
feel like
feel it, yeah,
but
I feel
yeah
like that's
like
just like more of like a voyeurism thing, like, oh,
yeah
I like being watched
yeah
or stuff like
that's
that.
literally what I was about to say that there'll be a small pocket of people who just like to do
Being
that.
watched, yeah.
Yeah, like they like to just feel like they're being watched or whatever. But I feel for the most part, porn industry gone,
Bad,
gone. It would be collapsed. Uh,
hopefully.
OnlyFans pages that like are paying, like right now, if you have to pay for an OnlyFans page, that person probably wouldn't be doing it if their basic needs were met.
Yeah, it's I just feel like OnlyFans wouldn't exist if capitalism wasn't this
Yeah.
way. Because even I have seen like stories of like OnlyFans girls saying that they don't even get paid enough
Yeah. Yeah.
to eat, to
Yeah. You're.
survive, and it's like they have to like go to further lengths of the sex work area where they have to like actually sell themselves,
Hmm.
or like they actually have to be like physically exploited in order for them to eat, to survive, to
Yeah.
get their basic needs needs met. Like what's the point of having like the thing is that even when you have an OnlyFans page that's private, your stuff can still get leaked
Yeah.
and
It
you
happens
would
all the
be
time.
exploited for free.
Yeah.
Like your production, your work, everything you did by yourself, gone.
Yeah.
Because of someone just like posting it on Pornhub
Yeah.
or YouPorn or what else? XX videos? I don't know. The thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of porn pages
Yeah.
that
And I'm sure that like your stuff like is technically copyrighted, but
should
no
be
court is ever gonna like. That's never
respect
going.
that.
Yeah. It's never gonna go to court. Like if someone was to maybe like they would uh you'd probably get charged for revenge porn because that is revenge porn, but would it really like you
That is
know
something that actually goes to court in Mexico.
yeah
Very hard, but we got a law for that.
yeah but how much do you hear about that here in the old US of A, especially in Texas if you're down in Texas.
I've never heard about that, honestly. Like, I've
Yeah.
never heard about a case of like revenge porn being like
Yeah, from
committed.
my understanding, it varies by state to state. So some states have like revenge porn laws, and some are just like, meh.
I think it's because of how it falls onto something that's not federal. So since there's not an actual federal law about that, then the states just like give it an okay and they're like, oh, we gotta make something about it. I think probably New York and California would be two of the states that actually have something about that,
Yeah, like
but I'm not too sure.
yeah, like you would expect more of the more left leaning states to have something, but I don't know.
I don't know either, and
Yeah.
I am a paralegal, so
Yeah, and that's scary. That's scary that you don't know. Like, oh, I have an OnlyFans page in this county or this country,
I
and
cannot give you any legal advice whatsoever. If anyone asks me, like, if anyone asks me about what to do with that, I will be like, I can't.
yeah,
So, I mean, I might know, but I couldn't be like, hey,
yeah, you
actually
couldn't,
do this, because then I would just be dismembered
yeah,
from like being a paralegal. So yeah, I don't know. It's just it goes to a bigger question, like I said. So we probably would never end this
yeah,
podcast.
yeah. We'd
So
be here all day.
yeah,
Okay,
all night.
so yeah, so I think mostly everything. I think we're pretty much on the same page on. I think um, to summarize, our last little section was about the sex industry, and we both agreed not good, and that
Mm-mm.
probably
And
not.
whoever think it's good, then you're a pig. You're
Yeah,
a pig. Whoever thinks it's good.
yeah, yeah. No, I am in agreement. I think, and
That's good.
then a little bit about OnlyFans that we both probably agreed that it's not existing. Like under if we get rid of capitalism,
Feminism.
then OnlyFans is probably gone. My guess. I think
Not
the
my guess
only
also.
yeah, I think the only sex work that would be left is that I'm pretty sure it's a small minority of people who just like to be watched. I think
I feel like it's just hookup culture all over again. That's
yeah,
it. That's
yeah,
about it. Because like I told my people, it's not gonna be sex work anymore. It's gonna be just sex.
Yeah, it's just
People
regular.
are just gonna be having sex.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, well, I think we'll end it here because we've been going for a minute and I'm kind of hungry. I smell the barbecue. They're
Ooh,
out
that's
there,
so
yeah, in
nice.
the they're watching UFC, grilling, and I'm ready. I am ready to,
Go get that meat, boy.
yeah,
Go
I
get
mean,
it.
yeah, I can smell the spicy wings. You like, when your mom is making
Ooh.
that sauce and you can smell it, like, kind of burns your nose a little bit.
I know. My mom made my eyes cry. My eyes cry
All the time, yeah.
all the time.
When Lily's visiting, like, and my mom's making salsa verde, we can't have her in the kitchen.
She's white.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, John can actually take it. He can actually take it, but still kind of like
Yeah, I mean, yeah, John's been in the culture. John knows,
John knows.
John knows.
John knows.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Ending it here.